Okay, let's talk about practice number 1 for how you can generate more energy in your day and your life. This first practice is my personal favorite of all of them because most people, even if they're taking care of their health, where they're actually losing most of their energy throughout the day is in their transitions. And this was like a mastery level insight that I got with a client maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Realized this person was pretty fit, pretty healthy, pretty on the game mentally and emotionally, but was still depleted at the end of the day and was working about the same number of hours as other people, and I couldn't figure out like what was going on there. And then I tracked the person. I actually went to work with them and did a shadow program to see like what was their day like. And what I noticed was it was just they were going from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, next, and there was never like a mental or emotional or physical break between any of them. And so I created a simple practice for this person that changed their life forever. And this practice is called release tension, set intention. It's a super simple concept, and I want to walk you through it and then give you some examples of how you can apply it literally today, even after watching this video if you want, okay? So all I want you to do is between every major activity is to run this specific practice called release tension, set intention. And what I mean by between every major activity, I mean like, okay, let's say you're going to do email for 1 hour. Then you're going to switch from doing email to a PowerPoint or keynote presentation, okay? 2 kind of different parts of what you do. You might be replying to a bunch of people, sending a bunch of emails, and then you're going to go into creativity mode. What I noticed with my client is he was just going from one another. He'd just do a bunch of emails, and then he'd just open up the keynote and he'd start doing that too. And he was good at not multitasking too much, so he'd do one thing to another, which is very important for your energy. Don't do too much multitasking. Every single performance survey and research in the last 5 or 6 years have said multitasking is less effective, less efficient, and less personally satisfying than giving your full effort to one activity at a time. Still, the challenge is people get one activity right in the next activity. And without some kind of break, without some kind of practice in between, we lose our energy and presence throughout the day. It's like we're bleeding out energy in the transitions between the things. Does that make sense? It's like because there's no space in between, we have no space up here to find presence. And so what I challenged this client to do, I said, here's what you got to do. From now on, let's call, we'll use that example, email to PowerPoint presentation. I need you to release tension, set intention. Here's what that means. Number 1, I want you to close your eyes for 1 to 3 minutes. So I'm not asking for you to do like a big 20-minute meditation, though that would be great for you. All I'm saying is finish email, first thing, as soon as you finish email and you know you're going to do that keynote, close your eyes for 1 to 3 minutes. As you close your eyes, I want you to repeat the mantra, release. Literally say the word release to yourself. If you don't know what a mantra is, it just means you're going to repeat that word over and over. So you'd close your eyes, you'd finish email, just close your eyes. And that's important. A lot of the fatigue that we experience mentally through the day is really visual fatigue. Like we need to close our eyes throughout the day. Like back in the day on the savannah, people would take power naps all the time. There's a reason for that. The bright lights of glare that we have from the sun naturally is also the bright lights of glare we get from TV and screens. So it's important to close your eyes, 1 to 3 minutes, just sit there, breathe in deeply, and I just want you to repeat the word release to yourself with the goal of releasing tension in your body and releasing any thoughts that come up in that amount of time. Just like a little meditation, okay? You're going to release the tension, just sit there, release the tension in your shoulders, release the tension in your back, in your neck, in your jaw, and just repeat to yourself the word release like this. Release, 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 release. Now, as you would do that, you would not say the word out loud so you don't freak out your coworkers. Just you say the word to yourself inside, okay? And all I want you to do is just do it for 1 to 3 minutes. If you want to do 5 minutes, great. If you want to do 20 minutes, great. Important things here. We are closing your eyes to give your visual cortex a rest, which gives your mind a rest. You immediately slow down your mind when you close your eyes, okay? Second, we're giving a mantra that will help us actually give the intention of releasing physical energy, tension, and releasing any thoughts. If any thoughts come up in that 1 to 3 minutes, like you're starting to think about the PowerPoint or the email, let it go and go back to the word release. Then, number 3, before opening your eyes, set an intention for what you want the next activity to feel like and be like. Okay? That means at the end of my 1 to 3 minutes of saying the word release to myself over and over, I'll say, okay, what's the next activity? It's PowerPoint, so creating a keynote, a presentation. Okay, I want that to feel like I'm having fun, and I want it to be creative. And when the final thing is done, I want people to say, wow, there was so much good story to that presentation. Okay, that's my intention. Fun, creativity, story. Open up eyes, open up PowerPoint, keynote, and go. Meaning, we're not jumping in the next activity without a pause to think, what do I want of this thing? And I know this sounds simple, but if you will do this, it will change your life. In the opening of High Performance Habits, I tell the story of Arun. And Arun is a pretty famous Silicon Valley startup founder. The guy was completely burned out. I remember getting the call from him. It was like 3 in the morning or something. A friend introduced us. And he said, hey, Brendan, I need your help. And he asked if I would come work with him. And he literally flew up a jet that night, put my butt on this jet, fly down to work with him early in the morning, and his life was falling apart. And I sort of dug in and to understand what was going on. And what he was telling me was that, he said, Brendan, I can't take people and my team to the next level if I keep driving myself into the ground. And he was so exhausted. But the weird thing was, again, he, like a lot of other people, were working similar hours. I mean, lots of people work, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 hours, but there are some people who can do that and go to bed and be fine the next day. Other people, they can't. They're completely wiped out. What's the difference? The mastering of transitions, the time in between. Like when I follow high performers in like the larger organizations of the world, say a Fortune 500 company, and some of the highest performing people I work with, it's very clear. They'll do something, then they'll get up from their desk, they'll go over to the water cooler, they'll get some water, they'll go to the bathroom, they'll come back, they'll chit-chat with somebody, and maybe come back to the desk and start working. Or they'll get up, they'll go walk down the stairs, they'll walk around the building, they'll come back, they'll get back working. All they're doing is taking a break. They're mastering the transitions. And that's what's really important. This is a practice that adds another level of high performance to it, because we are giving your visual cortex a break. We are giving the mind a break. And most importantly, we are intentionally, just literally between any activity, releasing some tension throughout the day. Because you know what you're probably doing? You're building tension throughout the day. And then you go home and you're irritable with your family. And you don't even know why. It's because all of this tension is stored up throughout the day. Someone screws up, you're like, ah! Someone screws up, ah! Someone screws up, ah! Throughout the day, you're just like, you're going home like an X-Men and you don't even know it. I don't know if anyone will understand the X-Men reference. But anyway, I think it's really important that you realize that you cannot be that person who's building tension throughout the day. Be the person releasing tension throughout the day, and then you can flow into the next activity. Set that intention for it, and now you'll be purposeful. And all of a sudden you're going to say, Brendan, that one simple thing, release tension, set intention, has made me feel so much better. I feel like I have renewed energy. I feel like my activities, I'm doing better. We can reconnect you with your energy and your purpose with one simple thing that we do between 2 activities. Arun, that startup founder I told you, you know what changed his life? He did this when he came home. So he'd be working all day. Then when he drove up to his house, his practice was before he went into his house, he'd literally just sit behind the wheel, and before getting out of the car, he'd just release his body, close his eyes, and he said he'd just sit there for 3-5 minutes, just repeating the word release. Then he'd say, okay, I'm about to go in and be a dad and a husband. What kind of dad do I want to be? Well, I really want to just hug my daughter, and I want to let her know that I love her, and I really want to be present with my wife at least for 20 minutes before I have to check in on something else. Just be really with her for 20 minutes and just give all my love to her. Find out about her day. I want to be a great husband and a great dad. Okay, open the eyes, get out of the car, open the door, be an awesome husband and a dad. But he needed that mental break between work and home. It didn't take long. Remember, I'm just asking a couple minutes, right? I'm just asking for a couple minutes. between every major activity. It will change your life forever. I promise. If all you did out of the habit series here was this one, and you did this one, I mean, just think about this. Maybe 5 times a day. All right, I'm not asking for that, but that'd be 5 to 15 minutes of your day where you allow yourself to close your eyes and actually release that tension and think about the next activity. It's transformative. Try it. Release tension, set intention. Very simple. RTSI. Release tension, set intention. You can do this and it will help. Okay, welcome to practice number 2 of how to generate more energy as a habit. Now, the first habit was about releasing tension and setting intention. That's very powerful for your mental energy throughout the day. Those little breaks and that purposeful living, incredibly powerful. This one's very much focused on your emotional energy throughout the day, and it really is giving you the intention that I think you need to have throughout the day. So when you release tension and set intention, I hope a lot of times your intention is this one, and that is to bring the joy. This is the single most powerful sort of intention that I have every single day. I want joy every day. I want to tease and have fun and joke around every day. I want to take joy in the small moments. I want to take joy in the things people say. I want to take joy in tipping somebody. I want to take joy in just having a quality of life that I feel is imbued with positive emotions. And here's the deal. You cannot wait for that to happen, right? The first thing I want you to think about this is this one. We need to be responsible for our energy. You got to be responsible for the energy you're experiencing each day. You know, it's like Viktor Frankl said in Man's Search for Meaning. The last of the human freedoms is the ability to choose one's own attitude. And when we think about that, I really feel like the plus one of that is the ability to control one's own energy overall. Like, what's the emotional energy we're going to draw from today, right? We talked about the power in the Clarity Habit Builder, if you watched that one, about determining the feeling that you're after each day or in each situation. What's the feeling that you want at lunch or at dinner or with your coworkers or with that team, and shaping those feelings. And in this one, I really want to ask, are you bringing enough joy into your life? Not hoping that your life gives you the joy. It's that dominant metaphor I told you about that really transformed my life at a very critical time in my early 20s when I was an unhappy man. I remember thinking about and writing about this metaphor of the power plant not having energy, but rather generating energy. And I think that is still one of the defining metaphors of my entire life, right? The power plant takes energy from all these different other sources, transforms it, and transmits it. And what I realized was I could do that too. I could take, no matter what energy around me is, I can choose how I'm going to transform that energy and what my output's going to be. And what my output I want to be is, I want to bring joy. If I show up to dinner, it's like my friends always say, Brendan, I'm coming over to your house tonight for dinner party. What should I bring? I say, bring the joy. That's what I always tell them. Bring the joy. Well, should I bring some wine? No, bring the joy. I'd rather have you bring positive emotions into my world than alcohol or casseroles. You know, that's what we all want from each other. What your neighbors really want from you is joy. What your kids really want from you is joy. What your spouse and your partner really wants is fun and positive emotion, positivity, vibrancy with you. And that can't happen if we're irresponsible and we just let the world continue to always shape us. Because you know what the world's going to shape you into being? Negative and tired and sort of judgmental. And I know that might not sound the most positive statement, but it's true. I mean, when we're surrounded by a 24/7 news cycle, when we're surrounded by social media, when we see so much hate and so much commentary out there, it's very easy to get a rough edge. But those who maintain positivity do it because they realize they are in that battle. And they're going to choose that energy that they want to experience the world in. If all you did is say, from today forward, this is my demarcation line, from today forward, I am going to choose each day to bring more joy and positivity into my days, regardless if my spouse, my partner, my work, my business, the world, the economy, or my finances support that or not, that's what I'm going to choose. And that will completely change your life. I remember reading in college a book, I think it was called Happiness is a Choice by Barry Neil Kaufman. Very simple, simple, simple book. And I just remember thinking, wow, I wish somebody told me in high school that my emotions and feelings were my own. That it didn't matter what someone said to me, it didn't matter what the teacher, whether they liked me, it didn't matter whether I got the grade, that I could choose my energy despite the world. No one ever told me that in high school or early college. And that discovery was so huge for me. And as you always know, we have book recommendations with each of these habit builders. I hope you'll check out the book recommendations for this one particularly, because I feel like too many people don't get this intellectually. And if they get it intellectually, they haven't discerned the habit of making that come into the day. They go through too many days that are joyless, and they blame the day. They say, what do they always say? Well, today sucked. I'm like, today didn't suck. I'm sorry. I've been through a lot in my life. I mean, I've been through major accidents. I've been with so many people who have passed away. The day doesn't suck. The way you define and bring meaning to that day sucks. And I know you can say, no, you know, these terrible things. I'm like, hey, look, I sat with my father as he passed away, one of my greatest mentors and loves of my life. And the day that my dad died did not suck, because that was not the meaning we as a family were going to bring to the passing of life. It doesn't mean there wasn't tremendous sadness there. It doesn't mean that during that day, major swings of emotion. It doesn't mean that major swings of emotion didn't continue. It didn't mean I didn't hit depression and true sadness in the coming weeks at some points. But here's the thing. You're totally allowed to have a bad day. You're totally allowed to have bad hours. You're totally allowed, look, you can have all that. But you can also say, okay, even in the midst of a bad day, can you find something to notice, appreciate, honor, respect, that deepens a reverence for life? Because even as we lost my father, it deepened our reverence for our family, and that was a good thing. It deepened our resolve to carry on his legacy and his values. That was a good thing. It deepened our care for not only for each other, but for my mom. It's a good thing. Made us want to really live life. Because when you see it pass away, you honor and respect yours even more. Good thing. Now, I could say, well, gosh, well, Brendan, you're just being, super positive. Those are hard times, and not everybody can feel good about the most difficult situations in life. I'm like, I don't know. I think maybe you should read Man's Search for Meaning if you haven't ever read it before, from Viktor Frankl, because here's a psychiatrist dealing with the Holocaust in a concentration camp. There are extreme circumstances, and people are able to be responsible for their energy even in those. Matter of fact, some of the largest psychological studies done of people in the most traumatic of situations, when they ask, how did you survive that? They would say that they reminded themselves of things. They had a visualization for the future, or they noticed the small things, or they appreciated the small gestures, or the simple things, or those moments of kindness. They found something. And so I'm not here to judge. I'm just saying there's always a toehold of hope and joy in life, even when it feels like you're on the steepest of cliffs. So be responsible for your energy. Here's some simple ways to remember to do all this, bring the joy. One, anticipate positive outcomes. Anticipate it. Like they would talk often with prisoners and how they could survive this. And they would say they imagined the day they would be set free and what they would do afterwards. They would imagine, going golfing or being with their family, and they would just visualize their freedom. They would anticipate that they were going to live through this, that they were going to survive, that they were going to make this meaningful and make sure it never happened again for other people, that something about them anticipated a positive outcome. Now, we're not all trapped in that way, but we all can feel that way in life if we don't start anticipating positive outcomes. I have an alarm that goes off in the morning when I wake up in the morning, and it goes off, and it's like this great sound. It's like, I don't know, it's like music. And I remember a couple years back when it went off, and it's such a nice sound, and I said, this is going to be a nice day. Brendan, it's going to be a beautiful day today. It's just such a great day. And I started singing and making up lyrics to this goofy song, and my wife is cracking up. She's like, you're such a dork. And I'm just having such a great time. But now every time I hear that alarm go off, that's what I think about. I'm like, this is going to be a great day. And I know we've all had moments of that. My question is, have you made it habitual? Is there something you are doing each and every single morning to make you anticipate the day? You know, my first thing in the shower every morning, if I take a shower in the morning, I'll say to myself, what can I get excited about today? And I will force myself to find something or create something to have enthusiasm and excitement about. That's just a simple shower routine. Water hits my head and I go, what can I be excited about today? And there's plenty of days that I'm grumpy or tired in the shower, but that question starts reframing my mind and giving me more perspective and opportunity to have joy during that day. Because if you don't anticipate positive outcomes, now you're kind of stuck just taking what life gives you. But if you can be like, oh wow, I get to have that lunch break today. That lunch break is going to be so nice because I'll lay down, I'll just get a little bit of rest. Or you know what, I can't wait to date night tonight with my wife. Or I'm going to anticipate that next video I get to shoot. Or I'm going to anticipate that next meeting. But be sure in your mind that it's going to go well. And when you have that sense of strength or confidence that things are going to go well, that they're going to turn out well, you start to feel better about life. I would also say set triggers for gratitude. That means a trigger is something that when that happens, you do X. So if Y happens, you do X. Triggers can be as simple as we talked about, as a reminder alarm bell in your phone, right? Simple, you can do that. Set an alarm in your phone maybe 3 times throughout the day, it just goes off and says, hey, appreciate things, be grateful for things. Maybe your gratitude is triggered by something someone says. I always try to say, my trigger is departures. Meaning if I'm with somebody and they leave, when they're leaving, I always remind myself to say thank you or to say something nice. So someone's departure from my space, that's a trigger. Someone's departing, oh, thank you. And I remind myself to do that. Do I do it 100% of the time? No. Most of the time, yes. And that by reminding myself as someone departs to say thank you, to honor or give gratitude, it makes the relationship better, but it also puts me in a more joyous standpoint. We know the more grateful you are, the more happy you are. It's a direct causation and correlation, okay? Next up, appreciate it all. When you can appreciate even the struggles as things that are making you better, or you appreciate other people, even if they didn't deliver what you wanted, but you know what? They were there. You know what? They elected to get up and work for you that day. You know what? You got to work even though maybe you were late, at least you get to have a job. Like, it's about reframing things into appreciation. And, you know, we've been teaching this for 10 years and still people come up and say, you know what? For some reason, I forgot to be appreciating life, Brendan, and then you reminded me. And I thought, well, isn't that like common sense? But remember, common sense not always common practice. And that's why people fail to hit high performance. We need you at more appreciative. Like tomorrow, who could you go appreciate in your life? What could you say to them? Think about that. What could you say to them? What gift could you send? What note card could you write out? Who's been taking care of you in some way, whether with emotional support or financial support? Who's been there in the darker, tough times of this last year for you? And maybe they weren't there as much as you wanted, but you know, they said a kind word. Like, who can you appreciate? And what I found is by these simple practices, as straightforward as this, you know what? We all think that, you know, we're going to get some new app and it's going to change our life. What's really going to change our life is bringing more joy into life. But to bring more joy in life, we have to have these things in place. First, we have to own our energy. We have to anticipate positive outcomes. We have to set triggers to remind ourselves to be grateful. Maybe every morning you get up and, you know what? As you make your bed, on the pillow, you put your gratitude journal, which reminds you at night, before you go to bed, oh, there's my gratitude journal, and you fill it out. I don't know what it's going to have to be, but you need a reason, a cause, a trigger that reminds you to be grateful, and you need to appreciate everything even more. You know, one of my friends and mentors, Tony Robbins, likes to say, hey, you know what? If you can trade your expectations for appreciation, you'll change your life. We all expect so much for life, but we forget it's already delivered so much to us. So with these habits and that intention to bring joy each day, something's going to shift for you and you'll start feeling it. I want you to start measuring the amount of joy you have each day. Maybe this becomes a simple routine at the end of the day. Did I experience joy today? Yes, what was it? No, why didn't I bring it? and you just challenge yourself to be that more joyous person in your family. Now, if you're watching something like this, I bet you tend to be more joyous than other people around you. But could you go to another level? Because that's the real thrust of high performance. There's always another level where that other level means a greater level of depth in that feeling of joy, or a greater level of consistency in practicing that. But this is your time in your life. You've been through enough. It's okay to feel joy again, and it's a commitment you must make if you're going to experience high performance. Remember, high performers said 3 things define their emotional states, and that's why they're high performers more often. Number 1, full engagement in the moment. Presence, awareness, mindfulness, now, full engagement. Number 2, joy. And number 3, confidence. And I'll tell you what, if you can learn to be more joyful in the day, the nice thing is, it does increase how engaged you feel, and it does increase your confidence, because no matter what life throws at you, you own your emotional world with this practice. Welcome to practice number 3 of generating energy. And yeah, we're going to go there and really annoy you in this one, because we're going to talk about optimizing health. And for 99% of people, optimizing health is just getting back to the basics. So this is not going to be the fanciest ideas and strategies, though I hope to give you some of those. This might be that helpful motherly reminder to you. Can I be motherly? I don't know. But I'll helpfully remind you of some of the things that you already know that you probably aren't doing consistently, and it is sapping the life out of you. How's that for a very motivational opening to practice number 3? I'd love for you to rededicate yourself to some basics, and we'll talk through how to do that as we go. Number 1, we've got to get you back to 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night. Not sometimes, every single night. That's going to be hard for some of you. You know, maybe you've got a new toddler around and that's just not possible, as if some toddler just showed up at your doorstep. You know, maybe you've had a baby recently and it gets a little bit difficult. Maybe you're working some odd shifts right now and it's a little bit difficult. Maybe for you, you've thought, well, I survived fine on 4 to 5 hours, Brennan. I don't need, 7 to 8. Let's just talk about 50 years of research on sleep. It is definitive, and there is 0 questions to be asked, and there's nothing you can possibly argue. You need 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night on a consistent basis to perform at your best. Lots of people, especially tell me at the highest levels of achievement, who are yet struggling to be high performers, meaning they get lots of stuff done, but their well-being is not where it is. Well, Brendan, I'm fine on 5, 6, 7 hours of sleep. I'm like, well, let's talk about that just for a moment. When you lose just 90 minutes of sleep from your regular pattern of 7 to 8, you're cognitively impaired, right? If you have 2 hours less, if you're at like 5 hours of sleep per night, you're basically legally drunk on your cognitive scores, right? When you take your cognitive scores, it's the same as a drunk would take it. You don't know it though, you don't feel it, you don't sense how poor performing you are. It's one of the tricks, and it's one of the reasons a lot of people feel like, well, I don't need that much sleep because I get by. And I say, I know you get by. But imagine there's a difference between getting by and being optimized. People tell me, Brendan, I've survived all these years on 6 hours of sleep. That's just my natural rhythm. No, that is not your natural rhythm. It is what you have trained yourself to be okay with. Very, very, very different things. The natural optimum rhythm for everybody is 7 to 8 hours. And if you'd like to argue it, I'm welcome to it. But you're talking about outliers, not most humans. And most humans need that amount of sleep for cognitive performance, emotional stability, and physical stamina throughout the day. The less hours of sleep, every one of those, and every research study will show that that's where we get into trouble. Your emotions start to slide and go all over the place the less sleep you have. Your mental focus and energy starts to drain, and physically you start to bonk more throughout the day. And it's not just your circadian rhythm throughout the day, it's the lack of that rhythm of sleep. But some people say, Brendan, I just can't, I can't sleep that much. You need to take this moment as a decision to say, everything is trainable. See, I share this with such certainty in it, not only because I've seen the 50 years of research on this, but I've worked with so many people who said it wasn't possible and then they became good sleepers. I was the same way, right? I thought, well, I'm just not a good sleeper because I was, logging in 5-6 hours a night, and I'd wake up and I have lots of thoughts or anxiety or worry or concern or dreaming up stuff. I had to train myself. I took it like some people train for a marathon. I said, I'm gonna train for sleep because I saw the studies. If I get that 7 to 8 hours, I'm smarter, and there isn't a question about it. Your cognitive scores go up the better night's sleeps that you get. I want to be emotionally joyous and happy, not stressed and frazzled all day. That takes sleep. And I want to feel like I got so much energy throughout the day, I can knock out as many courses, as many speeches, as many pages as I need throughout the day. I knew I needed sleep. So I had to train myself. How did I go about it? I studied some of the basics in sleep. So if you struggle with sleep, consider a couple of these things. One simple thing that most people aren't doing is just you don't have caffeine after 4 p.m. Just don't. Some people say after 2 p.m. I tend to say with high performers, about after 4 p.m., no more caffeine. It messes with your sleep. Number two, when you go to bed, the hour before you go to bed, don't look at any screens. Turn off the TV. Don't be doing social media at the last minute before you go to bed. Like, I'll just check Twitter. There may be something happened, right? Don't look at Instagram. No visual stimulation from screens in that last hour. If you want, yes, you can read something. You're welcome to read a book, right? They've proven that helps with sleep, depending on the book. If it's a book where there's a lot of violence, not so good for you, okay? But if you need to read something to escape visually with that, that's fine. Better yet, in that last hour, maybe take a really slow stroll around your neighborhood if it's safe, out in the dark. When you're in darkness, your body goes, oh, time for me to shut down and go to bed, man. And so many of us don't have any of that natural exposure to nighttime anymore. And that's why we don't go to bed at night. We're still stimulated by the bright lights of our house, by the visual things, by the TV, by that thunderous 5-point sound system you have, that's right? You turn all of that off, spend that last hour in silence or walking around the house. When you do go to bed, maybe in the 20 minutes before bed, drop the temperature of your house down to 68 degrees. If that sounds too cold for you, great. You're going to sleep better. Well, I'm uncomfortable in that. That's why they make the blankets. And you bought that duvet, okay? You spent the money on the duvet. Use it. Crawl under that thing. Go to bed, 68 degrees. Block out all of the light in the room. My friend Ariana Huffington travels with electrical tape. So when she's in hotels, she can put that electrical tape over all the, the alarms, over the red, buttons that beep everywhere with the, the fire alarm system, or with the VCR. Wait, people don't have VCRs anymore. DVD, the game. In your room, you probably have a lot of little blinking lights everywhere. She blocks all those off. Goes into total darkness. If you need a sleep mask, get a sleep mask, but darken out your bedroom. It's really important. If that means you need to put up some drapes, my friend. No one wants to see you naked trudging around. Put up the drapes. But you need to darken out that room, because if you don't darken out the room, your body, again, isn't going to sleep as well. So simple things. Last hour, not as much stimulation. Before bed, cool the house down or the room in where you're sleeping. Darken out the room. Then here was my sort of marathon training for sleep. It was so hard for me. It took almost 1.5 years until I could do it. I read this practitioner who was helping people sleep, and he said that one of the most challenging things for people is just that their body's not used to being prone for 7 to 8 hours. Because usually when they wake up in the middle of the night, you know what they do is they get up and they wander around the house, they go to the office, or they grab their phone and they're like, the real challenge of sleep isn't so much just it's intellectual, it's that we need to train our body just to lay there for 7 to 8 hours. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. But for me, what would happen at like 6 hours, my brain would turn on because I hadn't trained it to stop, and I would just go, blah, 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 and I'd get up and I'd move around, or I'd try to come back to bed, and it was just a disaster. So what I learned to do was when I wake up, and it has not been 7 or 8 hours of sleep, my alarm doesn't go off, and I wake up, I'll just stay there in bed. I won't get out, I won't grab the phone, I just stayed there. And yes, I know how that feels. It can feel torturous. You're just like, just lay there. And what I learned to do was do mantras to make myself fall back to sleep. Like I'll do my own release meditation technique where I'll just repeat the word release to myself. I'll release all the tension throughout my body in each major area of my body. Keep repeating that word to let go. And if I don't fall asleep, at least I'll be back into a deep meditative sleep in that last 30 minutes, hour, hour and a half, depending on what it is. And I'll wake up. When that alarm goes off, I'm completely refreshed. Even if I didn't fully sleep, I got into a deep meditative state. But I didn't, importantly, get out of bed. And that was so, I'm telling you, I'm not bragging here. That took me like a year and a half to train my body. Dude, when you go into bed, you don't get out for 7 or 8 hours. And that was so hard. Now I know some of you are like tactically, like, do you go to the bathroom? Like, yes, if I have to go to the bathroom, I'll go to the bathroom. But I also limited how much intake I took in that last 2 hours before bed. I don't drink a lot of water so that I can just go throughout the night and not have to get up and really just be in a good space. Now some people say, well, won't you be dehydrated? I'm like, I drink so much water throughout the day, it's not an issue, right? And I've trained myself to get this sleep. And I've trained so many other people to get this sleep. Here's the challenge I know I'm working against. If you're not a good sleeper, you think everything I'm saying is for other people, and you're wrong. Just like you probably thought, well, marathons for other people, but you could train to run a marathon. Everything is trainable at some level, and you could get better at sleep, but the decision has to be today to get better, because we can't optimize your health without sleep first. It is so necessary. Now, for some of you, you're like, dude, move on. I'm good at sleep. So I'll do that for you. That second thing is, let's get you up to 5 days of exercise. 5 days out of the week of exercise. And I just want you at 5. Just make that decision. I got to do 5 days of exercise. Just decide today. Now, we can talk about what exercise is. That doesn't mean you need to hit the gym every day and exhaust yourself, okay? It doesn't mean you be in the gym for 2 hours. We'll talk about the types of exercise, but I need you at 5 days. Why? Because the top 15% of high performers are exercising 40% more of them at 5 days per week than the rest of the high performers and their counterparts. Meaning the top 15% performers in the world are working out 5 days a week. Now, that's a big, profound difference. When you're talking about the top 15% in the world, you got to care about this. It's important. Remember, you're burning as much energy as often an NFL quarterback or somebody like that. So it's really important. Now, 5 days of exercise. Here's what I recommend. It's very doable. I recommend 2x2s. If you don't know what 2x2 is, that means 2 days of the week, you're going to do what are basically cardio activities. I want you to do like a 45 to 60 minute cardio activity. Maybe it's a group class. Maybe you do 2 group classes a week, okay? Or you just do, let's call it 20 minutes of real sustained 75% of your energy, okay? So it could be like a 20-minute, really go for it, cardio-based activity where that's running, sprinting, rowing really, being on the elliptical or rolling really hard, but just go for it for 20 minutes. Always please consult your doctor to see if it's right for you, especially if you have other medical conditions or physical history in your family where you have a heart attack or something like that. Please consult your doctor. But if you're capable and it's right for you, go 20 minutes at least pretty cardio-based. So that's 2 times a week. Then 2 times a week, lift. Do strength-based training, whether that is something like plyometrics or you actually use physical weights and you lift. Do that for 20 minutes a day, 2x2s, right? 2 cardio-based sessions, 2 weightlifting-based sessions. That's 4 times. What do you do on the 5th time? Go for a quick walk. Do a 30-minute walk around the block when you get home at night. That can be that simple. Depending on your health, hey, look, maybe a vigorous walk. If you're in bad shape right now, that's okay. But if you're in bad shape, you got to change it. So if you're in bad shape, maybe this 5 times a week, all that means is you go for a 45-minute moving walk where you're putting effort out. You're really walking briskly 5 times a week. I don't care what you do, but I want you to get to 5 times. Even if that, 2, 3, 4, or 5 of that includes just a brisk walk for 30 to 45 minutes a day, that's it. That's fine. Like for me, there's a lot of days I can't lift, right? Or let's just say I don't prioritize lifting, or I don't do the cardio, but I'll get home and we'll have dinner. I'll say, honey, let's go for a walk after dinner. And we'll do that. It doesn't have to be crazy. We don't have to need running shoes. We don't have to get all fancied up to go to the gym. But it's going to happen 5 times a week minimum for me. And that's how I can output this much energy for you. It's necessary. Yes, I know it might make you annoying like me, but the more energized you are, the more you're going to serve. So if you haven't done it for yourself, do this for your family, because we do know that those who exercise more often tend to be less stressed. Almost all evidence suggests they're happier in their marriages, in their career, and they're higher earners. The more you optimize your fitness and your health, the more likely it is for you to have all these positive life outcomes that they measure. And we'd love for you to have that. So if you have not done that yet, get there. Next, 3 healthy meals a day. Super simple, right? Just try to have 3 healthy meals a day. Don't worry about a lot of those things unless you're a training athlete and you're on a nutrition plan from a nutritionist where, people say have 5, 6, 7, 8 little meals a day. For the majority of people, remember, in the United States, we're at this 60, 70% range of overweight. We're at this range of 30, 40% obese. We're in trouble. Telling people to graze more who already have a food addiction is the wrong idea. Yes, there are some people whose either metabolism or their fitness goals would suggest having like 5 smaller meals throughout the day. For the vast majority of the people, unless they're supervised in that, that's a bad idea. That's like saying for an addict to just have a little hit of cocaine today. It's like, no, just don't. Instead, I want you to just go to 3 healthy meals a day. And if you're like, 3 healthy meals too many, I'm like, cool, do 1, dude, 1. There's a lot of people we've transformed their lives by saying, listen, all I want you to do, have a salad every day for lunch. Just decide that. I'm gonna have a salad every day for lunch, and I'm gonna do it without any sort of sugary add-ons, if you will. Meaning, be careful of what the dressing is. Most salad dressing is horrible for you because it has too much sugar in it. So just choose to have like a simple olive oil or a simple vinaigrette that isn't, loaded with sugars. Or have, like me, I just don't have any. In general, when I'm at my house, most of my lunches when I'm at home are spinach, well-sourced spinach, some avocado, some blueberries, and just depending on what I'm doing, I might have a protein shake with it. But it's a pretty light lunch, and it's my green-based meal of the day. And I really highly recommend that you get, when I say healthy meals, usually that means no matter, very similar, especially if you look at a major meal, like a dinner or a major bigger lunch, if you're trying to store up on those calories. It's like if you have meat, make sure it's excellently sourced and very lean. Make sure if you are somebody who does have a lot of that, make sure you have more greens on your plate than meat. Like meat should be like a little add-on, but greens are the thing. You want to have a lot of greens and healthy fats. So depending, I know that some people say, is that paleo, is this? I'm like, I don't worry about it. What I worry about is, are you consuming a lot of greens? And are most of your meals healthy? That's all. And if you're like, Brendan, I don't eat 1 healthy meal a day, start there. 1 healthy meal a day. I don't know what's healthy. Well, there's this entire thing in a bookstore called the cookbook section. Cookbook section. Go there to that section and find something that resonates with you. I don't care what style of eating you do. What I care about is that you know it's healthy for you, and we'll talk about how you can get there. But I just want you to get to 3 healthy meals per day if this is going to be the most healthy year of your life, which we talked about earlier. If that's not going to happen for you, get 1 healthy meal. And I tell people all the time, if you ate 3 bad healthy meals, make sure you do intermittent fasting. Meaning if today you have 3 like really bad meals, then wait 12 hours before you eat again. So if you had your last meal at 6 p.m., wait until 6 a.m. the next day to have anything and have something light that next meal. So wait at least 12 hours, eat something light, okay? Again, always consult your doctor to see what's right for you. There's plenty of health plans out there. No one is lacking information in this area. They're lacking willpower. They're lacking the decision and the commitment to it. So today, decide healthier meals, whatever that means for you. For me, I'll tell you what, I don't like and I don't enjoy cooking. It's just not my thing. I wish I did, but I just don't. And I've done everything to bring the joy into the process, but there's so many other things I enjoy. So I don't worry about it. A lot of my meals I'll have ordered in because I just don't want to worry about that. Even if there's times where I need, like doing these videos, I can eat anything. I just need calories. It takes a lot of calories to run this mouth. And so it doesn't matter, I'll just need to eat something. But if I eat something that I don't feel is as healthy as I want it to be, then what I'll do is that next meal, I'll go super healthy. So look, if you want to have your pizza, have your pizza. But then the next meal, go super healthy. So you're always offsetting if you get into trouble or you're doing a fast until the next meal and then eating light. But you need to set up that rhythm. Whatever it is for you, we're trying to up you to more healthy meals. You and your family having more healthy meals matters. When you read High Performance Habits, you'll see there's a citation in there that an entire GDP of countries is tied to nourishment. Like if a country is well nourished, its ability to increase its economic abundance goes way up. And we all know that. We just don't take care of this part of our life because we have some excuses. I talk a lot about the excuses in High Performance Habits because I had them too. So when I'm standing here with you, please hear, I'm not preaching at you. I struggle with this one too. I had to train myself to sleep. I had to up my levels of exercise because I found out that's what the highest performers were doing. I said, I want to be the highest of highest performers. And I had to get better at healthy meals, including ordering it in and spending a little bit more, but I feel good. And that matters. I mean, don't you want to feel good? I remember when I started eating healthier, all the inflammation went out of my hands and my arms, and I felt looser in my hips. And I was like, I didn't change anything, but that simple thing. I just got rid of the inflammatory foods. So there's lots of different programs for that. Again, there's book recommendations here of things that I like and might recommend, but you need to find your own plan. But here's the habit. Optimize your health, my friend. Welcome to practice number 4 of generating more energy. This practice is called forming your pro health team. And if you didn't like any suggestions in my previous videos on energy, you're really going to hate this one because this one is something I'm stunned that most people have never actually done before. I don't know why I assumed most people cared enough about their health to do this, but the vast majority of people have never done this. I don't know why I assumed most people have done this at some point in their life, but I also realized maybe it's because I've had enough accidents in my life. I decided I need to really repair my body. I've broken a lot of bones because I was in martial arts most of my life. I have, had some accidents from my adventure trips. And so for me, getting great care with my health was important because I was trying to recover. And some folks maybe haven't had that situation, or others just never decided they wanted to feel amazing. I don't know why I assumed it, but I shouldn't have. And so if you haven't liked what I recommended, this one might be the most advanced one, and this might be the one where you go, Brennan, that's only for, I don't have the money for that, or I don't have the insurance for that, or something like that. And I just want to let you know, I didn't either. When I did this practice, forming my pro health team, I didn't have the finances for it. I set this as a goal. I said, I am going to save enough this year so that next year I can get a pro health team so that I have to see them all year long, but I want to go and visit the best in healthcare providers in my town, at least for one session. Be able to afford one office visit and a 1-hour session with them, depending on what it is. We'll talk through that. That was a goal for mine. So please don't think that it's just like, oh, Brennan, you can do this because you're just rich and fancy. It's like, look, I wasn't, well, A, I'm not fancy, and B, I was not always wealthy. So I set this as a goal because I just knew. I mean, the outcomes are very clear in long-term health and research. It's like the healthier you are, the more likely it is for you to be a high earning. The healthier you are, the longer your marriage is going to last. The healthier you are, the better you tend to be with other people. And I said, okay, I want that. It doesn't mean there's not other factors. It just means health is a huge factor. So I decided I was going to form my pro health team. Here's what that means. We'll go through it, and then we'll talk about why. So let's talk about what you could do in this area. I would like for you to set up, and notice the word says soon. It doesn't say now, hurry up, hurry up. But if, again, you want to go to the next level, my job here is to challenge you a little bit and maybe think outside the box of how you've thought about your health before. The first thing I would like to make sure that you set up is some exercise friends. Remember, we're going to try it 5 times per week. You're going to stick to it more if you have some friends. So who do you work out with? Can you get one buddy involved in one of those exercises at least once a week? Can you work out with somebody? So if you don't already have that, make it a goal. I was a single solitary workout guy almost all of my life until I read the research that people who exercise with other people tend to actually push themselves a little further. They tend to enjoy it more, and they tend to get in better health outcomes in a shorter amount of time. I was like, got it. I didn't have any friends. I was just like, okay, well, I shouldn't say I didn't have any friends, but I didn't have any workout friends. I said, I gotta get some workout friends. So how did I do it? I went to the gym and I started talking to people. That was it. And literally I was like, when do you work out? Oh, Mondays at 5? Okay, maybe I'll see you next Monday at 5. That's how it began. And I don't know what your routine is or what you're going to do, but if you don't have exercise friends, get that soon. You'll enjoy it more. And they found that with exercise friends, they vary their workouts more often than solitary people do. So if you're working out by yourself, it's very easy to say the same routines and not have any gains. People who work out with friends tend to get more gains because they choose to switch it up. And by switching it up, they cause muscle confusion or they cause a change in the physical body to be able to adapt. And that's what's important. So get yourself at least one exercise friend for the week. If that's your spouse, awesome. If that's your team, the week. If that's your spouse, awesome. If that's your team, but just get one, okay? At some point, get one. Second, go see a sports medicine doctor. And here's how you find this out. And this was a huge one for me. I said, you know what? I would love to hire the doctor that treats the NFL team in my state. Like I was like, I want to find a doctor that treats the NFL team. Or for you, it might be the hockey team or the gymnastics team or the team of the swimmers. Or I want you to find a doctor that is sports focused. Why? Because that doctor who's sports focused looks at the totality of your life and your health very different than a general primary care doctor. And this is not to say anything against primary care doctors whatsoever. I hope you have one, and you should get one because people with a regular primary care doctor live longer. Important to have. But what we found is that sometimes folks who have a sports medicine background, they're just going to ask you different questions. They're going to look at things like your mobility or your flexibility or your nutrition or your fitness and health outcomes in a very different way than a primary care doctor might do. And so I want you to find who treats the local sports teams. Who is that? Find that. I don't care if that's the person who treats, the very best, high school sport, team in your town. I just want you to find the best sports team in your town who treats them. And go see that person, and here's all I want you to say. So listen to this. You don't have to know which checkup, which things to do. Here's all I want you to say. I want you to go see that doctor and say, I'm here today because this guy, Brendan, annoyed the hell out of me. And he said, for me to ask you, how could I get in the best shape of my life this year? What do you think I should do? Could we do some checkups or a physical to see, like, what do I need to do specifically to get in my best physical conditioning this year? Could we spend some time to that? When I found my person, I said, I had that conversation. He said, well, sure. We had a conversation. I said, could I pay you for an hour? Could we do it all in 1 hour where you just, we go through the motions, you ask me the questions and whatever, and I come out with a plan? He said, sure. He charged me $250 for the hour. And I will tell you what, best $250 I spent. So I just want you to think, you don't have to, I'm not asking you to say, go see this person every week or use all your insurance policies for this. I want you to find that sports doctor in your town or in your state that's great and go pay them for an hour or two and have them put together a plan with you to get you in your best shape ever. You don't have to do everything they say, but I promise it's going to be very different than just going to see a primary care doctor and having your regular physical routine. Because when you get your regular physical, it's just, there's not much info and intel there. Still do it, but I want you to get some actual planning done. And this one visit could change your life. Next one, I definitely want you to go see a nutritionist if you have never done that. Look, you can go do 2 sessions with a nutritionist, change your life forever. Because when you go see a nutritionist, they're going to do some food allergy tests with you. You might be allergic to eggs or milk and you had no idea. Maybe there's a type of grain you didn't know you should be eating. Maybe you shouldn't be eating potatoes, but you'll never know this type of thing until you get tested. And a lot of people, every morning in their life, they get the sniffles after breakfast and they are always blowing their nose, and they had no idea they're allergic to what they're eating, but they're only eating what they're eating because that's what they ate when they grew up, and they're just not aware of it. And that changes their life. I have a great business partner of mine who didn't, until he was 40 years old, find out he was allergic to eggs. Guess what he ate every morning? Eggs. Every morning for like 40 years of his life. And he could never figure out why he was tired. So you might be allergic to something. And it's not just about figuring out allergies. Your nutritionist is going to help you figure out your meal plan. They're going to help you figure out kind of a good consumption policy for you of what types of fats or what types of grains or what types of meats, or based on your dietary needs or goals. If you go see a nutritionist and say, hey, I want to lose 15 pounds, what would I do? They're going to be better than you asking your girlfriends at lunch, like, I want to lose some weight, what should I do? Because they're going to tell you something to do that's going to just sap you from, nutrition. So please go see this. Again, I'm not asking you to see this person every day or like 2 visits with a nutritionist. First visit to share the goals and to take the tests. Second visit to come back and get your plan. You can do this, right? Remember, I didn't have the money or the insurance to do this. I saved up. I just wanted to do it because each of these can be done for $100. Your friends are free. You might have to buy them, some caffeine to make them less grumpy at the workout. But the sports medicine doctor, the nutritionist, it's a couple $100. Right? You can save. Trust me, it's worth it. And people say, well, I don't have the money for that. I'm like, save the money for that, because that saving the money for that will save years of your life instead of being fatigued and tired. This will put you on path. Then last one, go see a physical therapist. Most people think physical therapists are only to be seen when you actually break something. But physical therapists, a great physical therapist, and you can ask your sports medicine doctor who their preferred physical therapist is. I prefer to work with physical therapists who also work with professional sports teams because they just have a different concept of the body. They work with the body in that way more often. Like for me, working with a physical therapist, I discovered that I was very, very, very tight in my left hip, and I didn't know why. And so we did a bunch of movements and rotations. I got more mobility and flexibility and ultimately strength in that hip. And now, if you've ever been to my seminars, I'm on stage in dress shoes for 4 days, right? Suit shoes, dress shoes, fancy shoes for 4 days, jumping, running, clapping, talking, outputting energy, and I'm not sore. How does that happen? It's the movements that I learned working with a physical therapist, even though I wasn't injured, to make sure I keep my body open and flexible. One of my favorite stories of working with a high performer ever of all time was working with the great legend Harvey Mackay. If you know Harvey Mackay, he's sold over 10 million books worldwide. He wrote a book called How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. And he was speaking at my event. We were backstage at my event, a couple thousand people out there, and he's going to go out on stage. And he's 80 years old. And I can't remember what he told me, but he'd run his last half marathon at like 72. And I said, okay, you're 8. And every time he goes out on stage, he gets a standing ovation, he kills it. And I'm like, how are you still doing this at 80? I said, give me your tricks. And it was just great little trick. I love to ask high performers their health routines. And he said a couple things he'd done. One, he goes, I eat 14 walnuts every day, Brendan. I said, 14? I said, why? He goes, just because it's 14. You need a goal. I said, okay. He ate lots of walnuts, lots of blueberries. He hadn't smoked or drank after he turned 50. He had smoked and drank before 50, but he cut out smoking, drinking, and most caffeine when he turned 50 and had 14 walnuts a day and a lot of blueberries. But one thing he told me, he hired, Harvey, you're watching, I hope I got the story right, my friend. He hired the Minnesota Vikings strength and conditioning coach, who was mostly, for him, a stretch coach. He said, come over. So he would work on his body, just opening his body to get more flexibility. Maybe for you that's going to yoga class, I don't know. But the nice thing about seeing a physical therapist is they can tell you where your body is compromised structurally that maybe you did not know. very similar to those of you, maybe you guys have worked with a chiropractor before and discovered something that you didn't know about how you held yourself or structurally were formed. This is powerful. This is powerful. I like to work with those combinations of people like this because it tells me so much about my health. And remember, it's not like I see these people every week. I try to go see these folks once a year. That's it. For me, it's a tune-up. But I know other clients who say, well, Brennan, I did this once and I was good to go for 3-4 years before they saw somebody else. So don't worry about the recurring nature and don't be that person who says that costs too much. Because if you're ever going to save something, stop saving for a new couch, stop saving for a new table, stop saving for a new car. Save first for health. Got it? If you'll do that, then you can hire your pro health team and go to another level. We send a lot of my executives to like the Mayo Clinic so that they can get a full executive functionality makeup. And we send a lot of different people to a lot of different programs so they can find their greatest level of health. I don't know what your answer is going to be, but I do know if you don't make this a decision and a commitment, then another year goes by, and then another 5, and another decade, and then in 20 years you wake up in a health place where you didn't want to be. And you had the guidance and the direction there for a couple $100. You could have gone and done that. And I just say, go do that. Go find the pros and the best, sit down with them, work on it, because if we can get you feeling vibrant and amazing because if you put your team together, then I promise we can get you to high performance. All right, last one. The 5th practice of generating more energy is to set energy triggers. Remember, a trigger is if this happens, then you do that. And for me, I think triggers are a very important part of my life, and our clients love this type of thing, where a trigger can be you drop the kids off, as soon as you drop the kids off, go to the health store, get some healthy food, come home. Or go to the gym right after work, or lunchtime, gym. I don't know what your trigger is going to be, but that's basically what it means. Something happens, then you do something that's good for your energy, okay, overall. You need to set as many of those triggers as you can. We've talked a lot about them throughout. You might set energy triggers on your phone. You know, there's some things that tell you to bring the joy or to take, do your release tension, set intention activity. You can have lots of different triggers around the house. A note, a sticky note on a mirror can be a trigger for you, for your energy, right? You might just put something, a big sticky note on your mirror that says breathe. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be for you, but let me give you 2 simple ones that really dramatically have impacted my life because they happen all the time, and they're powerful. The first one is to create doorway triggers. If you've never heard me talk about this, it's something that I started doing about 7-8 years ago. Whenever I walk through a doorway, meaning walking into the house, walking to an office, walking to a conference room, if I go through a doorway, I have this phrase that I say to myself that energizes me, right? That makes me, just for no reason other than there's a door there. I walk through the door, it's like I'm a Pavlovian dog now. My association is so strong. I walk through a door, I say something to myself, and I get better. My energy improves, right? For me, I'll say something like, and it depends on which doorways, because I have doorway triggers at my house, I have doorway triggers at the gym, I have doorway triggers here at the studio. I have all different ones, but like a generic one might be something like, if I walk through a door, I'll say something like, I'm entering this room as a happy man and I'm excited to serve. Simple, right? Just something I say. I'm entering this room as a happy man and I'm excited to serve. It puts me in a good mood. And you would be surprised how many doorways you walk through during the day. You walk into the bathroom doorway, you walk into the office doorway, you walk in the doorway of your home, doorway in the grocery store, doorway into the store. There's a lot of doorways you're going through, so they're a great trigger for you to say something to yourself. I don't know what you need to say to yourself, but I do know you need to know. So what could you say when you walk into a doorway that would increase your energy? Would it be bring the joy? Would it be, let's have fun here? Would it be, what's it going to be like in here? Would it be like, be silly? Would it be something to say, look for something good? I don't know. But have something that sort of motivates you or makes you appreciate something or generates some type of positive energy. It is the most convenient trigger that humans have built for ourselves, right? We built all these doorways everywhere. So walk through them and say something to yourself. And I highly recommend, if you want to go to another level, Set specific doorway triggers. I walk through the door of my home and I say something for me about my wife to put myself in a good energy to be there for her. When I walk into the doorway of my studio, I make myself say something. Many of you guys have heard this before if you've been through some of our other programs. When I walk through the door of the studio, I go, in my mind, it's video day. Sometimes I say that out loud, but it makes me get excited to shoot video because this is my job. You know, this is what I do. And so I have to get myself razzed up for that, right? I have a different doorway trigger that I have when I walk into a Fortune 50 conference room to get myself in the right energy to serve there. What are your doorway triggers? Such a simple tactical thing, and it will change your life. And the second trigger I want you to set is waiting triggers. This is a big one. Waiting, meaning like if you're waiting in line, as soon as you recognize you're waiting in line, you say something to yourself. This was a big one for me because, and I came up with this one because I was pretty impatient at one stage of my life, like constant. Like if I was waiting in traffic, I'd like, and I'd get all this tension. I'm waiting in traffic, you know, stuck in gridlock, and I would just get more, every minute that went by, I'd get more and more and more tense. And I'm like, I'm gonna cause myself a friggin' heart attack here. I'm freaked out. My blood pressure's going through the roof. I need a better way to manage this. And so I started training myself. And at first it was just like a game with myself, and then it became so powerful, I started teaching other people, and now it's like this, you know, this huge thing that people do these triggers. And the waiting trigger for me is something like, for example, if I'm in the grocery store and I'm waiting in checkout, I start saying this phrase to myself over and over and over again. If I'm waiting in traffic, I say the same phrase to myself over and over and over again. If I am, you know, waiting in the line at Starbucks over and over and over, I say something to myself. I want you to define what that phrase is. And I want that phrase to make you either appreciative or grateful, or again, generating a positive, fun energy, or connected or loving. If you'll remember, if you took the Clarity Habit Builder, we talked about purpose in that last practice, and you kind of came up with your purpose statement. Maybe you say your purpose statement to yourself every time you notice that you're waiting. Now, you don't have to say the phrase the entire time you're waiting, because you might be in gridlock for an hour, and it might feel a little bit much to say the same thing over and over and over for an hour. But what I want you to do is when you notice you're waiting, like the action is, notice I'm waiting, trigger phrase, say it a bunch of times, okay? That's all. It will set your energy more, because now you're bringing intention into what most people experience as a frustrating thing. And this simple little energy trigger habit of mine really made all the difference. I can't tell you how big of a difference it is. When I walk in the doorway at my seminars, I say something to myself. When I'm even standing, waiting backstage to go out on stage, I say something to myself. And that makes me perform better on stage. This is what high performers do. They're saying, they have a lot of self-talk, but they're triggering that self-talk, right? It's like a great tennis player. They throw that ball up in the air, they say something to themselves, usually before they serve. Same thing in lots of different things. I have golfers say something to themselves as they address the ball. We know that in sports psychology, but a lot of us don't bring that into our daily life. But it's profoundly powerful when you do. So whatever you do, when you finish this video, sit down and create a doorway trigger and a waiting trigger. And I promise you, you're probably gonna hit me up on social media, Brendan, that's so crazy powerful, because you'll notice there's doors everywhere. You'll notice that you're always waiting. And now you're taking back control of those situations to imbue them with phrases or energy that you want to feel versus what just hits you. And the more you control the output of your energy, the more you realize how to do that, the more the world starts to look like the way you want it to look. The more you put the energy onto people the way that you're intentionally wanting to do, the more you live a purposeful and, yes, high-performing life. I hope you've enjoyed this habit builder for energy. A couple simple reminders, my friends. Number one is there's a download beneath this video where you get those 5 recommended books to increase your energy. There's also 5 video or documentary recommendations beneath this video in that same document. And there's your daily journal that you can fill out in this particular area every single day to improve. There's a lot here for you beyond just me talking, okay? So make sure you're always checking all that out. Also, if you want to hear more of how I go through my weeks, make sure you subscribe to my podcast or my YouTube channel, because we share a lot of behind the scenes and conversations about how I'm trying to manage my own life and my own stories that I might not necessarily bring into these quick hit trainings. And then finally, if you're ready to go to another level, join that master's program. You hear me talk about it all the time. It's just so powerful. It's 6 weeks of online training, and then you come to the live event, and you can come to the live event anytime, and you can take the 6 weeks online training anytime you want. You can sign up right now. It's hpa.brendan.com, but it's profoundly powerful, and you get a certificate of achievement for your work in personal and professional development. So you can put it on your resume or on your bio that you are a graduate of High Performance Institute's High Performance Master's Program. It's not an academic institution. It is an institution built on training, world class. You know, the High Performance Institute is the world's leading think tank and training center for high performance, and now you get a certificate of achievement from that. And I did that because, and partnered with them and built that because I just wanted you to have that opportunity to be recognized and rewarded for your great personal development. Finally, this. If this is a habit builder you enjoyed, remember we've got habit builders for each of these, all 6 of them. So if you're not in the habit builder series, remember you get 50% off and you can be in all of them instead of paying individually. And I hope you'll take advantage of that as well. With all of this, no matter what you do, no matter what programs you join, no matter what triggers you set, no matter what goals you set, I just have to say this. Learn to generate the energy you want to experience in life. Take back control of your mental, emotional, and physical vibrancy and health, and you will notice that you strive so much more satisfied, so much less stressed. You have so much more fun, your connections, relationships will grow. You will reach that heightened level of well-being and performance that we see the highest performing people in the world practice and experience. I hope you enjoyed this one. Until the next one, go out there every single day of your life, live fully, love openly, make your difference, and keep striving for high performance.